This is Rating Descending,
where we watch IMDb's worst 250 movies so you don't have to.
I'm Michelle St. Clair.
I'm Abigail Ward.
And this week we watched Vice. Bruce Willis stars in this sci-fi thriller about ultimate resort Vice, where customers can play out their wildest fantasies with artificial inhabitants who look like humans. Let's watch. Hey, we got an email recently, someone asking for a bonus episode. Do you want me to read it out?
Oh, yeah, read it out to me.
Hell yeah. Hello, I recently found the podcast and I'm really enjoying listening through the show. May I submit for your consideration one of the worst movies I've ever seen, The Haunting of Sharon Tate, starring Hilary Duff and the guy who played Aaron Samuels in Mean Girls. This film asked the eternal question, what if Sharon Tate had psychic visions? Hope you're both doing well. Can't wait for the next episode. Caught.
Oh my God.
Who goes by they, them. And their is at Sapphic Sorcerer.
That's so cool. I want to watch that so much. That sounds insane.
Yeah.
I want to watch that so badly. Also, just Aaron Samuels from Mean Girls. Does he play like Polanski? Is he playing like Manson? Who's he playing?
Oh my God. I can't tell what's weirder, actually. I think Aaron Samuels playing Charles Manson is weirder.
I think Polanski is weirder.
No, I think you're right.
Polanski's like a weird little European man. Aaron Samuels is not a weird little European man.
I looked this up immediately after we got sent this email by Court, and it's got like 2.4 on IMDb. I think Netflix was associated to it.
How many ratings? It's like not on the list.
It's not on the list.
Wow.
It's not on the list. It's got like 7,000 ratings or something. Like it's close, but not enough.
I want to watch it. Thank you for the suggestion, Court. I think we should do it as a bonus episode.
Absolutely going to add it to the list.
So silly and fun.
Yeah.
I can't believe you didn't like Fart the movie. Guys, a couple of years back when we were watching bad movies, I found a movie called Fart the Movie. And so I asked Michelle I think you had to rent it for $4.
This was during the era where I was hosting a regular event called Let's Watch Bad Movies, which I consider the precursor to this podcast.
Yeah. And you went out of your way to make sure you could find the movie. You had to pay for the movie, which was, $4, I think, or something.
No, I would always buy the movies on DVD or Blu-ray if I could. I made these mashup posters of the movies because I tried really hard to theme them together. And one time you insisted to pick a movie, and I was like, okay, and you picked Fart the Movie, which I had to search high and low and then paid like $5 to $10.
And the first 5 minutes, don't get me wrong, was possibly some of the best things, like best content I've ever seen.
Pretty ridiculous.
Of this man walking around and farting and loving it. But then after that settles, that first initial, the initial delight, 5 minutes into the movie, it really just is him in this big empty house doing nothing, like watching TV.
Yeah.
It was so bizarre. It wasn't even fun. It wasn't funny. We had to stop.
I feel like, for me, like, when people say they like bad movies, when I meet someone who says that they like bad movies, and obviously I should be excited. I'm like, oh my God, someone with the same common interest. But I feel like there's 4 main kinds of bad movie, and I like one of them a lot, right? I feel like there's movies that are like bad because they're like not very well made. They're kind of really boring and they don't really go anywhere. Last Thing He Wanted, The Gallows. They're just like, they're not really fun. They're just not good.
Yeah.
Right. And then there's movies that are bad on purpose. And they're like, it's like a whole thing to make these like intentionally schlockhouse movies like Sharknado, which is on the border, but the Sharknado sequels are fully that. Shark vs. Octopus or Sharktopus.
Yeah.
I remember Mega Shark versus Giant Octopus, a lot of octopuses in one
lots
point.
Of sharks.
Where like they know it's bad and they know it's cheap.
That reduces the fun of it. Because what we love is people trying their hardest and still making an absolute fuckfest, like Ultraviolet.
Like, I'm not trying to pick on someone, but when they're like winking too hard, it makes me, it gives me the same feeling of when someone is like stamping in mud and like eating stuff out of the dirt and going, haha, isn't this funny, guys?
You mean
I'm like
Tom Green? You mean Freddie Got Fingered?
Yeah. I'm when that happens, I'm like, come on, man. Like, you don't have to do this for me. I'm not asking for this. We don't have to do this. It's,
oh, really?
It's not
Because
the
I've got it
same.
in writing, you asking him for this.
It's nowhere near as the
Dear
same.
Tom Green, will you please get on all fours and eat mud and stamp your feet for me? Love, Michelle St. Clair.
That's true. I did write
Dated
that.
this morning. You fuck. You little fuck. Think you can slip this by me? I got you. I got you in writing.
All I wanted was for anyone but you to see it. The last person. I know your blood feud with that man. I didn't want to come between it. I just want to see him roll around in the mud.
You go to Tom Green before you come to me. I can roll in mud. I can stamp my little feet.
Because I don't want him to roll in mud after you've beaten him. I don't want to see you in mud.
Is that a good thing?
Yeah. I want to see
mean
you
that?
high up in the mountains.
In the clouds.
On a throne looking down on all of
In the
us.
silken winds.
And you are not a kind monarch. You are ruthless, but you are just. The only people that you mete out punishment to are those who are worthy of judgment.
That's my empire exploding around me. Because I'm happy. That's joy.
Oh, okay, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been playing Elden Ring a lot. I'm pretty sure that's what happens, as far as I can tell. It's pretty
Shit
obscure.
exploding. Empires.
Third kind of bad movie, the kind that is my favorite,
Forgot we were in a list.
everyone trying their damnedest. And especially for me, when it's like a thing with a proper budget, like 20 million or 50 million, like Wild Wild West, right? Is a great movie because everyone is trying to make this great thing. And it's like, it shouldn't be possible for this many people who are good at their job and this much money to make something that just doesn't work on any level.
Yeah.
Highlander 2 is the perfect example.
I love it when you
Pinnacle.
see like actual like really respected actors and directors that are part of
Yeah.
some travesty, and all you can wonder is like, how did they slip so low and so far? And
Yeah.
yeah. How do these people get involved in this car crash?
That's why one of my favorite bad movies that I hope we do as a bonus one day is Lake Placid, because it's like it's hard for comedies to fit in that because it's usually like they're trying to be funny, but like that every joke in the movie isn't a joke, like doesn't land because of why it was written to be a joke. It feels like a parody of itself. That
Yeah.
movie's crazy. Love it.
And it's got Brendan Gleeson. We love Brendan Gleeson.
Yeah, but he acts as if this is his first time reading a script because he doesn't understand
It might have
delivery.
been. He was not an actor.
Pretty consistently sounds like he's reading stage direction.
He wasn't he a teacher, and then far later in life he became an actor. This probably was one of his first.
No, this
big
is
roles.
well after that point. Lake Placid is not early in Brendan Gleeson's career.
What is early in Brendan Gleeson's career then?
Let's look it up.
Also, followers, listeners, what do I think I am on? Like Tumblr? Are you guys my mutuals? If you're ever wondering what my dad looks like, it's Brendan Gleeson mixed with Danny DeVito. That's what my dad looks like. And that's what I look like. So deal with it.
This is what I thought, like 90s.
Wasn't like Placid 95?
What? No, I thought Lake Placid was, 99. That's what I thought, yeah. Lake Placid, 99.
When did he start acting? What was his first film?
The Field in 1990, an Irish drama.
Oh, damn, Brendan Gleeson.
I didn't even need to click on it to know it was an Irish drama. It was called The Field.
The Field.
Yeah, of course it's an Irish drama.
I'm in the field.
Go write some more plays about little islands and how hard it is to be Irish.
Oh, hey, don't fucking trash Father Ted, all right?
I was referencing Martin
dare
McDonough's
you.
plays, and it's telling that you pulled a different reference.
I was just joking because Father Ted is clearly not a play.
That's true, but hey, here we are. Hey, speaking of little islands,
Here.
and being here, this week we watched Vice 2015. So frequently we do movies where in our notes it specifies a year because it's the name of a different movie, or like with The Grudge, right? This is the one where that's been the most relevant and makes me the most tempted to put it in the episode description and title
because the other Vice is far better known.
and so like 2018, so close
close,
together, so
yeah.
close together, yeah.
And yeah, by a director of note. Not that apparently the film was that good, not that I've seen it.
But also critics are weird about Adam McKay. Apart from Big Short, they savage his movies.
Why?
They seem to not like him. I think part of it may be Adam McKay's politics or whatever you make of them, right? But like, it's not like Don't Look Up and Big Short are kind to journalists and the media establishment, right? Like,
Interesting.
maybe that's not why. Maybe he's a jerk and they all just don't like him, but like that tracks for me.
So it's a conspiracy, eh?
Yeah, it's a conspiracy.
The journalists are teaming up against him.
Rupert Murdoch specifically doesn't like Adam McKay.
Rupert Murdoch doesn't like a lot of shit.
That would track.
Yeah, that would track a lot.
Yeah, this like after the murky woods of Spookums in April.
Oh, may it rest in peace.
We are out. This launching us straight into the sun with this incredible rocket ship of a movie.
Rest in peace, Spookums in April. Like, you know what I learnt from Spookums in April?
What? You learned something cool?
Yeah, I learned something from Spookums in April and Maypril.
I love learning things every day.
Be a blimp. Be a blimp in the sky. Hover over your foes and your enemies. Don't get involved.
Be
Keep
a
your
blimp
little
in the
head.
sky. I can go twice as high. It's big Antichrist blimp. We did it.
Just be a blimp, man. Blimp along.
No, but this fucking movie, look, I want to say it now, just get my critique out of the way.
Please.
After the first 5 minutes of the opening bank robbery, I was like, hell yeah, it's gonna be. And then a lot of it, slightly different energy that was a little more disappointing and low and sort of sad to watch, but still heightened, still crazy bullshit.
I had no expectations, and I didn't find the energy that low, especially after Spookums in April. I really enjoyed myself. Like, straight off the bat, I enjoyed myself the whole time because it was so... Every trope that they possibly could have dreamed to pull out of their ass, they did with their fingernails. They scraped everything out of their tight little rectums.
Oh my god.
Because that was... I was cackling audibly at so many bits of the movie that Claude kept coming in being like, what's happening? Like, he kept hearing me like snickering away at the computer.
Just to give context, listeners, like, I'll give you the overview, but the overview doesn't include this because it begins with a bank robbery that is immediately like... local community theatre acting would look impressive next to this sort of performance. Cameras swirling around for no reason, circa like Transformers 2 style. So bonkers. And then they go to run out and they're clearly going to get shut down, so they prepare themselves to go down in a blaze of glory. And then it pauses, and then Bruce Willis walks in front of the frame with his very clear green screen, like they didn't do the spill, and then just goes, "Welcome to Vice, a place where you can do anything." I'm like, whoa, this movie's going to be batshit.
Yeah.
I thought it was doing like, for a second I thought it was doing Gamer, and I was like, there's going to be 2 Gamer on this list? That's crazy. A movie that we will do later.
I just find it unsurprising but sad that in this world... Like, I remember I didn't know anything about this film walking in.
Me neither.
And so when he comes in and explains what Vice is, how it's a world where you can, like, fulfill your darkest fantasies, I was like, so women are going to get sexually assaulted.
Yeah.
And they were.
Yeah.
They were. They kept getting raped and murdered.
That's the lower energy than I'd thought.
Yeah.
Bit.
That bit, at least, they didn't linger too much on it again, and it wasn't really about that. But there was the inclusion of women get raped and murdered all the time in this world because men just want to do that shit. And if they do it, they'll get it out of their systems. And the whole point of the film is them being like, that's fucked up, even though these women are fembots. Like, it's fucked up to hurt them. And they realize the error of their ways.
The Wikipedia article refers to the main character as a gynoid, which is another word for a fembot. And I'm like, why would you use the word gynoid?
Wouldn't it be... Yeah.
What is wrong with you? Look, it wouldn't be rating descending without an edge of
it's not
feminist
rating
rant. What?
No.
What is it?
This is called Bad Radio.
Bad Radio.
With Michelle and Abigail. Yeah! Welcome back to another episode of Bad Radio. Michelle seems to have just woken up from some chronic slumber. What's going on? I haven't had my coffee yet either. That's Bad Radio.
Sorry, I hadn't had my coffee.
Oh my god. She did a thing.
So you moving your lips to me saying it if I haven't had my coffee? It's actually kind of sweet. What was it? What the fuck was I saying? Yeah, gyno. Oh yeah, it's look.
Oh yeah, gynoids. Let's get back to it.
It's not like this is rating descending. It wouldn't be rating
descending, man.
It wouldn't be rating. Come on. It wouldn't be rating descending without a little bit of a feminist rant. I don't want to bog down the episode with it, but also what I hate.
Yeah, don't be a bummer, babe.
What I hate about the movies like this is that they're written by dudes, and there's.
What if sexual assault is wrong?
Yeah, well, that's the thing is that they go like out of their way to say it is a bad thing. Good, right?
Yeah.
But the way they do that is just by showing it on screen a lot happening to the female protagonist that they make cool.
Yeah.
And like that's actually not a feminist narrative.
Yeah.
That's your power fantasy of you both being able to enact something on screen that you want to see and revenge. That's totally not a feminist fantasy at all.
No,
and
not at all.
A lot of the time when you meet the dudes who make this content, they hate women.
They do.
Even if they don't consciously realize it.
Yeah, because they're like, no, I can't hate women because I think rape is wrong. But I'm really going to hammer away at this film and talk about why rape is wrong by showing you rape all the time.
Because I think about it all the time.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into the overview because there's so much to go through.
Yeah.
So, like I said, this movie came out in 2015. The director was Brian A. Miller, another person who was not even highlighted in blue on Wikipedia. So I found his LinkedIn. He's done about 9 movies. All of them are action movies. Fully half of them star either Bruce Willis or Sylvester Stallone.
And yet he doesn't have a Wikipedia?
If you clicked through to the movies themselves, you'd see why, right?
But he's got Bruce Willis and Sylvester Stallone in these films.
Later career Bruce Willis. Setup era Bruce Willis, not early.
Even so.
Yeah, I guess.
That's really surprising.
It stars Bruce Willis, which, by the way, to let the elephant out of its cage, this is us learning about Bruce Willis having to retire from acting because it's very apparent that he has very little idea of how to deliver lines and where he is and what he's doing. Escape Plan 3, once all of that came out, I thought back to our Escape Plan 3 episode, which was in 2019, and I'm like, we're probably harsh on his performance given what we know now.
We didn't know.
We didn't know. This is before that, when he allegedly still had his mental faculties, so I can say safely, he's pretty bad in this.
He's terrible.
It's also starring Tom Jane, who I remember distinctly from 2 things. A couple of episodes of Arrested Development, where he plays an actor who's pretending to be homeless as research for a role, and Lindsay likes him.
God.
And then at the end, she's like, wait, you're famous? Oh my God. And he's like, sorry, Lindsay, I'm Tom Jane.
I actually thought he was... At first, I couldn't tell if he was giving a good or bad performance. But there was a couple of scenes where I was like, that was kind of good. Then other scenes where I was like, that was shocking.
Some reviewers compared his performance to Gary Busey, like just doing an unhinged thing.
Yeah. And
I think that was the right choice for this, even though it doesn't work.
I don't know. There's a couple of scenes, where I was like, he's doing something interesting, but it's almost disarming to watch. Like, I don't know how to feel about it.
Yeah. And it also has Amber Childers.
What has she been in? She's the blonde girl, I'm assuming, the main character.
Look, I didn't look at what she's been in, and I'm going to save it for trivia because it's just...
Okay.
It's part of a whole thing.
Okay.
It's part of a whole thing to get into.
What?
I'll save it for trivia so that we can get into the rest of the thing.
All right.
I searched high and low. The only place I could find the budget was allegedly 10 million, but I only found that on IMDb. It wasn't listed anywhere else.
Less than I would have thought.
But at the same time, I expected it to be the budget was 1 million. But movies like this are always like tax loopholes and basically money laundering because it made 0.9 million. So 900,000.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Thanks for doing the maths for me, babe.
Obviously, returning actor Bruce Willis, who I noted, Setup, Escape Plan 3.
Bruce Willis and Sylvester Stallone.
Yeah.
The 2 front runners in this alongside Chris McDonald. That's fucking insane. I can't believe Bruce Willis and Sly are oh my God. What are they doing? Wow.
Neither of them has handled the twilight of their career gracefully. Let's put it that way. Here's the overview proper, which is really hard to write because this movie's convoluted as hell. A futuristic resort, Vice, offers visitors the opportunity to live out all their fantasies, no matter how violent or deviant, on sophisticated androids referred to as artificials. Every day, the androids' memories are reset, and any damage sustained is scheduled for repair. Kelly is a bartender artificial who gets killed by a resort visitor, but after her reboot, starts getting flashbacks of the incident and even earlier memories, leading her to escape. Meanwhile, Detective Roy Detesky has been arresting regular guests of Vice who have reenacted their in-resort fantasies out in the real world. Kelly's explosive escape is kept under wraps by the CEO Julian Michaels, but Roy starts following Kelly's trail. Kelly herself quickly finds Evan, so many names, who she met back at the resort, who reveals himself as the creator of the artificials and that he modeled Kelly specifically after his dead wife.
Michelle.
Evan grabs his hacker friend to help them create new identities to escape the city, but after Roy catches up with them, Vice security kills Evan while Roy and Kelly escape. Using the hacker again, they then create a virus to shut down Vice and upgrade Kelly and to storm the resort, killing the CEO and setting all of the artificials free.
Nice.
That's-
You did a good job.
Yeah, which was mostly all of the premise and the third act.
Yeah.
To be fair, nothing happens in the middle. Somehow this movie is 15 to 2 minutes too long.
I said it before and I'll say it again. What I loved about this film was the abundance of tropes.
Yeah.
And it all really came together in that last bit where they're all... I think the last couple of moments made me cackle almost the most, where of the... what are they called? They're just called androids or...
Artificials. Is what they call them in universe.
Right. The artificials, once they are freed, the main guy, Roy, he like lights another... He puts like a toothpick in his mouth.
No, I was watching this with my darling girlfriend, Brooke.
Uh-huh.
Hey, it's me, Brooke.
Yeah, we get it, Brooke.
Sure.
Get the fuck out.
Get out of here. Oh my God, what are you doing? We're recording in
literally
here.
recording.
Oh my God.
I hate how she does that.
Hey, whoa.
She always intrudes.
Whoa, hey, chill out.
I'm just
right.
angry. All
Yeah,
right?
that's not very nice of you.
Shut up, Brooke. Shut up.
Whoa.
Sorry, I'm on edge.
Yeah, I can
She
tell.
makes me on edge.
That's not nice to say about my girlfriend.
Well, she threatens me with a knife like every time I come over. You
Hey.
just don't see it.
Hey, Brooke, that is not appropriate behavior to do. Oh, okay, I'm sorry, Abby.
Okay, well, I like that you...
Bury a hatchet?
Yeah, well, I like that you took
Okay.
accountability and you apologized.
So anyway, she pointed out he does put a thing in his mouth. It's a match.
Oh.
It's not a toothpick. But also, we see a different character smoking, so it's not like they
Right.
can't show
He's
smoking.
just putting
so they
matches in his mouth. Is it meant to be like, he's trying to quit, but he can't?
He just keeps putting matches in his mouth.
Anyway, he puts a match in his mouth and he's like, welcome to the real world. And he like does a little smirk and like walks away. And then it cuts to Bruce Willis, the villain, lying on the ground and his eyes flick open and that's the end. And I was like, wow, 2 tropes like back to back. And then also there's the computer geek guy, the computer genius.
Oh my God.
After they win the battle at the end, he's like at his computer being like, whoa, they freaking did it.
Which is another trope. One of my favorite tropes.
They did it, man.
Also, one of the things that I love, you can tell the difference between big budget and small budget action, because in big budget action, if there's a computer hacker, it's like a nerd, like Justin Long in Die Hard 4, right?
Yeah.
And they're like, come on, speak English, man. And he's like, I'm just trying to.
Or it's like Riley in National Treasure.
Yeah.
Ben, we've got to go.
But-
Did you know that Benjamin Franklin invented daylight savings, Ben? I love National Treasure.
We know.
Yeah.
But if it's a low budget action movie, they can only... Sorry, when they're casting, they only get responses.
Burping now,
You're
bitch.
right. You're right. When they-
Apologize to me. Say you're sorry for burping.
I refuse. When they're casting,
That's hot.
they only get
That's hot.
responses from like jacked dudes. So even the hacker is like some jacked dude with a square jaw.
Yeah.
Because this guy's like so hot.
But then he puts on glasses and he's like, do I look like a computer genius now? And she's like, yeah, a little bit. Like, but he's still like a jacked man with a beard.
What is this? The fucking like 80s?
I think the guy from National Treasure is a great computer geek character. He's full of comic relief. He's really good and clever and helps them all the time.
For me, the blueprint is Die Hard. The black guy who always wears sweaters, who's like talking about basketball, he's the action movie computer geek.
Yeah, but he's evil. He's not on the good side.
Sure, but he's still the blueprint.
Yeah, but he wasn't necessarily... That guy had swag.
But if you did that performance
he was a
as
baddie.
the good... Yeah, no, but that's often the turnaround is like they're like the fan favorite, like...
Yeah, he was the computer geek, but he
Yeah.
wasn't geeky. He was just good at computers.
No, he is geeky because
wasn't a bit
they're all
like,
like
"Ugh."
cool and he's... No, but they're not like fucking Steve Urkel with like tape around their glasses going,
But they could have been, is what I'm saying.
But I'm saying they never are that.
I mean, Riley is a national treasure.
Sure.
Ben, we've got to go. Like, he hinges on just annoying. Like, if you met him in real life,
that's the comedic relief,
you'd
right?
be like, you're the fucking worst.
That's what the guy... Anyway, look, let's get back to this movie because
No,
it's
let's
nuts.
fight more. I'm ready to fight. I just had a big coffee and a bunch of jam donuts, and I am stirred up.
It's nighttime and sugar and caffeine have made you awful.
Angry.
Angry.
I'm having hypothetical arguments with your fictional girlfriend. We all know you don't have a girlfriend.
Speaking
We
of...
all know you don't have a girlfriend. You can just say it.
No, she's a real person.
No, she isn't. I've never seen her.
You have. You lived with her
Oh, yeah.
for months.
Sorry, that was my bad. No, you're right. I did.
You know what? You're right.
You're right. You know what? I can apologize. When I'm in the wrong, I say I'm wrong.
That's true, yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of tropes, one of my favorite ones in action movies that this does is the thing, like, it's so funny, is the thing of someone gets kicked backwards towards table that then starts sparking. And so then they shake to let you know they've been electrocuted by something. And then they are dead. Like in this, he literally, like the doctor, who's really creepy for no reason other than, I guess, to make every part of this movie creepy front to back.
The doctor. Yeah.
The artificial doctor.
Yeah.
And then when she's starting to escape because she's really strong now because she can remember, whatever. So she kicks him back and he goes back to a pretty like open space work desk. And then when he hits it, there's, you know, because there's equipment on it.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
he goes,
When they hit a control board, and apparently dials and levers will make you explode.
it's always things that I'm like, someone had to handle that with their hands at some point.
Yeah.
It's crazy that you're getting electrocuted from this.
Dude, what if you just brushed past it as you were getting up one day?
This is
Fucking
so dangerous. that
electrocuted to death.
Yeah, your workspace has like live voltage running through it, and you're not even in like a suit or anything.
Yeah, you can't touch that dial.
Oh,
It'll
yeah.
buzz ya.
Don't touch that
That
table.
one, that buzzes ya. That one over, that also buzzes ya.
That whole table, that'll buzz you.
In fact, don't sit in this room. Go to the next room.
This room's, don't get in it. That's
Out of
not good.
commission.
Now, if you need to get something done, I gotta be in this room. But I know the only thing that won't buzz you.
This is the one button that ain't gonna buzz ya.
See, let me show you.
Wrong button.
I'm walking here, and then he dies. It's always New York, isn't it?
That doctor was so needlessly creepy in that when she's in the chair, when she first gets captured and they're gonna like wipe her brain,
Yeah.
he's like, now this is really going to hurt.
Where he, as a character, explains every, like, just in a big exposition dump to the most clueless employee possible who seems to know literally nothing about his job. This guy just fully explains the entirety of how they work with no subtlety or subtext.
This man
anyway.
has the oddest motivations. Like, what is making you so evil, sir? Are you just getting paid a lot?
Yeah. Don't hire this man to be a doctor. It's
Yeah.
terrible.
He's got a bad attitude.
It's also like that comes like 15 to 20 minutes in where you've been introduced to the idea of Vice. It doesn't communicate very well because again, I thought it was like a simulation or something, and so it took me
Same.
a little. Yeah,
It confused me
I
at
thought it
first.
was like a digital thing.
Yeah, because they kept talking about the real world. So I was like, is it
Yeah.
a game?
Right, that's what I
Yeah.
thought. It took me ages to realize that the scenes we were seeing of them as people were them not in a simulation, but they were in Vice, which was a real physical place.
Yeah.
And there's so much
So
like
it's like
that doesn't
it's-
make sense when you are thinking about
Yeah,
when you
it's-
don't know that.
It's not a virtual reality.
Yeah.
It is a reality. It's just like it's going into like a laser arena and being like, this is your world now. It's
Yeah.
this big laser shootout place. You all live here. Like,
Yeah.
it's going into an arcade fucking.
It's a
going
resort.
into- yeah.
It's a resort, is
But
what it is.
What do you call?
It's a walled resort.
What do you call the places that people go to for arcade games?
An arcade,
No, like the series of them in Australia. They're in shopping centers.
time zone.
Time Zone. They live in Time Zone.
It's nothing like time zone.
I think you're wrong.
It's much more like a resort.
I'm definitely sure. I know that they describe it as a resort, but if they had known time zone existed, they would have been like, all right, they're in a place that's kind of like
they know
zone.
what arcades are.
Yeah, but they don't have time zones.
Time zone is just an arcade.
Yeah, but it's got so much more than an arcade. You've got bowling. Some places do karaoke. You've got arcades. You've got laser.
What time zone does karaoke and bowling?
Yeah.
Whoa.
There's one in like near Darling Harbour. It's got everything.
God. Wow, that's
It's got everything.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. And you've
Okay.
got a restaurant inside a time zone.
If we were in Sydney, I'd say let's go. But I then realized Darling Harbour's not in Melbourne. Is there one in Melbourne? We should go. That sounds like a fun time.
I mean, we can just go to karaoke, but like,
Yeah, okay.
I don't think there is like one like that in Melbourne. Now that I think about it.
No, but, I mean, I went to a karaoke place for a friend's birthday. I don't normally like karaoke, but like I was told like the vibe of this place will be really nice, and it actually was. It actually
Yeah.
really was. So
It was.
We should. Oh yeah, you were
Very
there.
friendly
You
atmosphere.
were there. You were there.
There's photos of us together.
Yep, there is. We had a great time. We talked. You
We did
scolded.
talk.
You scolded me because I started networking at one
Yeah.
point.
We're there for like 5 minutes, and you're
So
like, "Hey, I
drunk.
met this guy, and he says that he could really help us with our show." I was like, "Why are you working? We're at a karaoke bar."
Yeah, it was a fun time.
It was a fun
We should
time.
we should go again.
Anyway, it's basically like time zones.
It's not like that. It's like a resort because it is.
I wouldn't say that.
Yeah. Also, it's so funny, especially because of how recently Brooke and I watched Battlestar Galactica, that they're envisioning a future again, because simulation makes more sense because we already have metaverse. Anyway, as opposed to pre-metaverse, they have invented almost fully synthetic humans. Like, we see her insides and the doctor takes 5 full minutes to explain that they're primarily real organs that are just like lab grown, but they're not
Yeah.
like made of wires. They're synthetically made,
Yeah, and so how does that make her different from a human being?
which is, I guess, part of the point. But it's crazy that they were like, okay, so this world, we have invented synthetic humans with realistic AI that can fully function as a person. And the only way that this has changed society is there is one resort where people can go punch them.
Well, didn't they explain that the technology got out of control and people were intimidated by them, so they banned them in the real world?
Did they?
Didn't he explain that? He's like,
But that's also stupid.
yeah, because what if you could lab grow body parts, does that solve a lot of medical issues? People
Yes.
that have bowel cancer, is it replaced by synthetic bowels? I want to know how it helps. There's so many cool things they could have explained about this universe that they just failed to acknowledge.
There's something I find tedious when someone goes, hey, here's this cool part of this movie. And like, it's okay to have something that's like I don't think you need to explain every part of your world, because as well, your world building can be partly allegorical. Like, it doesn't make sense, but it makes sense for the themes. But what I hate though is when it's like normal world, but there is one technology that when you think about it has so many fundamental implications that it's like how did you not think of how this would radically change society as we see it? Like, there's no way that this world is anything like our own.
Yeah.
Whoa, that's
Yeah.
craziness.
I'm sorry.
Maybe I have been scared by your burps and I will ban them, much like they did.
But what
the
if my burps can
artificials.
cure cancer? What if I can replace bowels with my burps?
That's, maybe, yeah. God, now
Didn't
I'm just,
think about that, did ya?
no, but now I just can't stop thinking about how it's both really ridiculous, the idea that there is like synthetic people, but they decided to outlaw them because it was like, what do we do? What if they turn against us? A classic AI shit. And then they were like, but this guy can have some, I guess. But also
For his time zone.
for
his
his
time
for
zone.
his time zone resort. But also, I'm like, I bet if we banned a technology like that, the US government would go, Elon Musk can have it. They would. They
Get
would.
them into a car or something.
They would. He'd pay like $80 billion and they would just like write a loophole for him. So it's like, I guess I can't criticize it because that does feel realistic.
The dialogue and argument around, when man plays God and makes machines that are like humans, they must suffer the repercussions that these machines are also people and will come back and exact revenge. Galvanism is very hard to make fresh as a theme. So if you're going to make another fucking sci-fi film that's also an action film about how your creation has turned on you because you mistreated them, I cannot watch one more film about that. It's a done thing.
Yeah.
We get it. When you make something and you don't treat it like a human being that has feelings, it usually ends up killing you.
I also, hey, maybe I'm wrong. There's definitely researchers who's put more academic thought into this. But of the moment thought, I feel like it's also a very inherently white European framework because it's reliant on two things. That we would inherently decide to mistreat a being that we deem lesser than.
Yeah.
And B, that the immediate response to sentience would be violence, which is actually not even the standard human response. That has been the Anglo response to finding new cultures over the last 500 years. But that is not the only response that humans and thus things we project humanness onto. That's not inherently their first response. Humans are capable of many, many things. It's like how Lord of the Flies, Jesus. Hungry. Lord of the Flies isn't an allegory for how people will always turn on each other. It is written as and meant to be an allegory
of don't get on boats. Be afraid of the sea.
Of white upper class English boys.
Yeah.
And how they are shaped by their upbringing. That's why there's so much about their upbringing.
Exactly. Because did you know that there was a real situation
I didn't know that.
That Lord of the Flies was based on?
I did not know that.
It was based on a group of boys from a South Pacific island that got lost at sea because they stole the boat and it crashed into an island and they all had to live on the island for 15 months together.
Wow.
And they worked really well together.
Yep.
They cooperated. They listened to each other. One boy became a de facto leader and was really compassionate and patient. When they got into fights, they made it a practice to separate the two boys that were in a fight to the other sides of the island. And then the next day they would come back and reconcile. No kids turned on each other. They all got rescued in the end. And that's because they did not have the attitude and mentality of white English boys.
Literally,
they did not crave power, they craved peace.
The whole reason that there are human beings at all is because we, as loose, upright primates, decided to work together. We're social creatures that like working together. I feel like the story of we made something and now it wants to kill us is assuming that mistreatment is inevitable and that a violent response is inevitable. And I don't think that's truthful. So I reckon there's other takes you can have on it, you know?
It's a good point you make.
Yeah. That's why the original Frankenstein is interesting because he learns the violence from the people.
Frankenstein's monster. Please. It's Frankenstein's monster. Did you know?
Is Frankenstein
It's
his
Frankenstein's
first or
monster.
last name?
Monster's his last name.
That's pretty funny.
Thanks so much. That's what I'm paid here to be.
I do stand by that as a good retort because his name is Victor Frankenstein. This is effectively his son. His last name is Frankenstein.
Baby
They're
Frankenstein.
both named Frankenstein.
Oh, little Frankenstein.
Little Frankenstein.
George Frankenstein. Or Victor Frankenstein Jr.
No, we're not bringing it up.
We're
not bringing it up.
Junior.
We're not bringing it up, even if it is one of the best deliveries I've seen on screen. We're not bringing it up. This movie has so many crazy moments, including, there's the whole sequence. She's running away from the lead. We've talked about the trope, the dragon, he's the lead, I'm going to go get her guy. I think his name in the movie is, Chris. Right? Who cares?
As reference, a good example of the dragon is Carl from Die Hard. He's the right-hand man that is all muscle and brawn. I'm going to go finish him off. But then the bad, the good guy finishes the dragon off and goes for the villain.
It's a pretty classic action movie trope because then you don't have to make the lead villain the best at killing things.
Exactly,
right?
because a lot of the time the mastermind isn't the best at killing things.
Yeah.
You got to kill the brawn before you can kill the brains.
So then you give the wizard a dragon, you know? Anyway, yeah, he, which by the way, because she's getting attacked by some guy with a knife, and then he appears, and he's a guy in an official looking outfit and like a handgun in his hand, and behind him is two dudes in like full body armor and assault rifle, and this one scraggy dude with a knife who isn't being spoken to decides to run at them with the knife, so he gets gunned down. I'm like, why did you do that?
Yeah.
And then they like chase her into this building. It's all concrete and she's hiding. And then Chris is standing there and he just starts quoting Maya Angelou. It doesn't thematically mean
So
anything.
he's woke.
I guess because it's meant to be like, because it's the, why does the cage bird fly? What is that? Is that it? Is that the line?
I don't know the specific line. I mean, I know that Monet does a hot take on
Monet
it
Exchange.
Yeah, in Drag Race, but I don't remember the exact line.
I'm bad at remembering quotes.
I'm not the biggest Angelou reader.
The cage bird one. He starts quoting that, which I guess is like, because she's a cage bird and she's fleeing. I feel like movies like this are written with the explicit intent of trying to sound so fucking smart, and that's because they're written by the dumbest people you've ever met.
100%. What they did is that they went onto www.brainyquote.com and just typed in freedom and took the first quote that came up.
Yeah.
Maya Angelou? Sounds good.
He sounds like a great guy. Yeah, and then he gets them to he's just hiding, they're not moving, and then he gets them to shoot a bunch for ages, no one moves, and then he goes, stop, and then they're still just sitting there. I'm like, nothing why do any of it?
The fight sequences are so incredibly lackluster. In the final sequence where Roy, so like the main girl whose name is Kelly, but they're like, your name's not Kelly now, your name is Jennifer Washington. That's like the new name they give to her. And her original name was Michelle because she was the guy's wife. She was based on Michelle. Yeah. Anyway, Kelly, she has her moment where she becomes stronger than ever and she goes to like basically go kill Bruce Willis, but she's taken down because her gun doesn't work in that center. Also, I don't understand why.
No. Okay, so this is one of the it's stated that there's a fail-safe in the artificials that they can't, it's really not explained very well. Yeah. That they can't harm certain key people. So it's not that the gun doesn't work, it's that
just can't do it.
She can't do it, which is why in the end she throws the gun to the guy.
Got you. Oh, that makes so much sense. But anyway, I tried really hard to understand it and I could not.
And I want to come back to that last scene, so don't worry.
Because, and then she goes in, she gets very quickly taken down and captured because of that.
Yeah.
So Roy goes after her to pursue, and he basically just has an Uzi and is spraying bullets the entire way up. Does not get hit at all until he gets to the final fight.
Which, I don't know why their plan was they go individually and he goes like 20 minutes later.
Yeah. And then when he makes it up there, like it's so easy to get to Bruce Willis. Yeah. It takes him maybe a matter of 45 seconds.
It's so easy for him.
And once he gets there, he gets shot in the arm and you think he's down, but she distracts like Bruce Willis and tackles him, and then the guy picks up a gun and shoots him, and that's it. It was over in, I swear to God, 3.5 minutes.
It's so funny it's because it's this action movie staple of like, to take him down, they do a clever thing. John McClane pulls the gun that's taped to his back. Oh my God, you didn't even think of that, you know? And like, this movie's version of this is, as you said, Roy's on the ground, Bruce Willis is over there, and she grabs the gun, but she can't shoot him. So what does she do? She throws it to Roy and then runs head first at Bruce Willis, who then pushes her over.
Yeah, she doesn't even tackle him. He just pushes her aside.
Immediately, and then he's just in the middle of being shot by Roy. And you're
by
like,
the way, he's shot multiple times.
So much.
With like an actual pistol, like a revolver. Not even, like he's shot close range with a revolver like 6 times. And at the end of the movie, after he's like, welcome to the real world, Bruce Willis's character like flicks his eyes open and wakes up. And I'm like, bullshit.
Which is one of the like, it doesn't mean anything. I'm fully convinced it's just that they were doing an overhead shot of him and they went, cut. And then Bruce just opened his eyes.
But obviously they're like hinting at a sequel. Was there ever any sequel to this film? Is my question.
Come on.
I'm sure there isn't, but I want to know.
No. No, there's not.
Okay.
But even then, like...
I mean, The Gallows got a sequel, Michelle. Anything can happen.
If the CEO is alive, so what?
Again, it's hinting at a sequel. It's like, oh, he'll come back.
And do what? He doesn't have... He is a CEO whose business has just collapsed and he's going to be arrested if he's alive.
Hey, there's heaps of other time zones to manage. He'll be fine.
It doesn't mean anything.
Just a franchise, man.
Before I move on, I want to mention that one of my favorite bits was when they're upgrading her. Oh no, when they mention they can upgrade her because that she only comes back to do it later. And they go, we can download any skill set you want, which I like because it's obviously similar to The Matrix. In The Matrix, they have digital archives of all these skill sets because uploading them to the person's brain is a process that they've worked out and do regularly. Makes sense. This is some rinky-dink fucking synthetic person from one resort. Downloading from where? Like, what?
Yeah.
Where is he going to find a torrent of the digital archive of all kung fu?
Yeah, because the computer genius is like, I can give you any skills that you want. And she's like, I don't want anything.
How do you already have that digitized? Where? From where? You're not... What are you talking about? It doesn't mean anything. It's so crazy. Hey, do you want to hear some trivia?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
IMDb trivia.
So I mentioned to you before we started recording that like this movie itself is nuts, and then I looked up some of the things around it, and I was like, oh, this movie's so weird because there was like 3 different components and then an actual piece of trivia. So one of them we already talked about with Bruce Willis. Another was, at first I was going to say, because I wrote this and then I kept doing research. Similar to Setup, there is a total of 23 producers. Because if you remember with Setup, I mentioned there's so many producers. There's 2 producers, 1 co-producer, 1 co-executive producer, 1 assistant producer, and 18 executive producers.
And that's not even the most amount of producers. I remember one film that I did, it listed 36 producers.
Oh, yeah. It was fucking nuts.
Yeah.
And then I noticed a different piece of trivia that made me look up. So this one was written on IMDb, and then dozens of name actresses were up for the lead role, but producer Randall Emmett cast his wife Amber Childers in the lead role, while also hiring several of his mistresses who had their ring fingers tattooed with his initials R.E.
Oh!
What?
Oh! Did Amber Childs didn't know about these women, considering they're saying mistresses?
They all have his tattoo. Like
what
his
the fuck?
Fucking initials on their it's on fucking IMDb. Surely she knows.
But at the time, did she know?
I don't know. That's
What
not
the fuck?
that's not the level they put on there. Plot twist, Randall Emmett we've talked about him on the podcast because he produced Setup.
Oh my god.
We talked about him because we talked about his incredibly skeevy and shady company. What was it? Emmett, Furler, and Oasis, where they basically like scammed I think Lionsgate for like $200 million. And that's why Setup had a budget of $20 million.
What a seedy fucking dude.
Yeah, he also produced Escape Plan 3,
Oh
meaning
my god, this guy's a regular.
he should be added to the recurring people
He's
with
on the,
3 entries.
The wall of honor at rating descending. What, is he still with Amber Childers? Or did they break up?
Married an actor with whom he has 2 daughters. Emmett filed for separation from Childers in April 2015, so when this came out.
For separation.
Oh, but
from her?
dismissed the petition the following year. And then Childers filed for divorce in January 2017, and it was
Good.
finalized in December
What
2017.
a fucking piece of work. His
and-
mistresses had tattoos of his
Yeah.
initials on their fingers.
And then he was engaged to Lauren Lala Kent Birmingham from the reality show Vanderpump Rules, and they had a child called Ocean Kent Emmett.
Ocean?
Yeah.
Wow.
But this is the guy who, you might remember, began his career as Mark Wahlberg's personal assistant.
Right.
Which
Marky
doesn't-
Mark and the Funky Bunch, eh?
This doesn't surprise me at all. Man, I think I've mentioned this on the podcast before, but after watching Uncharted and getting to Showbrook, like, that's the guy who did Good Vibrations. Let's talk about what happened before that. And she was like, what the fuck?
Whereas Claude had never heard the song Good Vibration, so I got the honor of showing him the music video clip on YouTube.
Did you then get to tell him about the hate crimes?
No, we didn't get to that bit.
Oh, okay, because that's not fun, but it's interesting. On a similar note, do you remember Kelly's redheaded friend from the beginning and end?
Melissa, right?
Melissa, yeah. The actress, her name is Charlotte Kirk. Charlotte Kirk was personally cast by Randall Emmett in Vice and forced on the director and the other producers who advocated for several other known and qualified actresses. So likely one of the mistresses. She was later cast in several other films that Emmett would later produce. And in 2019, and I'll tell you more about this, Charlotte Kirk was then notoriously implicated in a major sex scandal involving Warner Brothers CEO Ken Tsuchihara, which forced him to step down, as well as NBC Universal Vice Chairman Ronald Meyer, who also stepped down, as well as Australian billionaire James Packer.
Oh my God.
Turns out she has this whole long history of having affairs with a ton of different film executives who then give her these like bit parts in a bunch of different movies. And then in 2019 and 2020, it all was revealed and came out. There's apparently like a book about it or an article. I didn't get time to read the article because I thought it was a book until this moment. Yeah, and so she was just, a lot of them had wives and stuff, and so they were all having an affair with the same woman, and then it all was revealed, and a lot of them had to step down. It's one of the biggest sex scandals
Good for her.
Since like Me Too and everything.
Good for her. Well, I grew up in Rose Bay in Sydney, and the big Packer mansion was right down on Point Piper, or kind of between Point Piper and Double Bay. And I always remember that the Packers were so rich that if any of them had a birthday, they'd just let off fireworks in Rose Bay. So just occasionally there'd be a random series of fireworks coming from near their property. And it was so loud and so intrusive. And it's just how the Packers are.
For context to non-Australian listeners, for a while the Australian media landscape wasn't just Murdoch. It was Murdoch and Packer.
Packer, baby.
Now Packer mostly just does casinos and preys on people.
Like good, modest people.
Like a good, honest Australian.
Yeah, true blue.
He likes to overturn gambling laws in states. It's pretty great. And
wow. There's a lot of bullshit.
Weird shit associated with this movie. But here's the last piece of trivia. On the TV at the beginning when they're doing the exposition thing, there are multiple spelling errors. Continue, with an extra I, is used instead of continue. Exhibit, without an H, it's more like exhibit instead of exhibit. And bullied instead of build.
That's stupid.
It's really stupid. Do you want to hear some reviews?
Yes!
Reviews!
This movie has 4% on Rotten Tomatoes and 4.2 on IMDb. The consistent thing we're discovering, because it's like the average rating on Rotten Tomatoes is 2.4. Like on IMDb, these things are so highly rated.
Yeah. Because IMDb is full of maniacs. That's why we're here.
I also feel like they skew towards the middle so much with the scores. Like
IMDb
something
is just
about
not a value. It's not a reliable place to be.
Yeah, guys.
It's a bunch of fucking loose units.
Guys, IMDb scores don't mean anything. Rotten Tomatoes scores don't mean anything. None of these mean anything. They're all just numbers trying to assign every value of how much one particular person or even a group of people like a movie, like a piece of art, by giving it a number value.
Don't call this film a piece of art.
That's why it got 2.4. Robert Abele of the Los Angeles Times said, dystopian sci-fi for dummies.
Nice.
I have 3 IMDb reviews. They're a little longer, but I couldn't pick between them. They're all so good.
Okay, I'm keen.
First one, real cool movie based on interesting concept by Yuzu KD, which I assume is meant to be Yuzu Kid, but I choose to pronounce Yuzucked.
No.
Yuzucked? This is the type of movie I like to watch. There's no waiting with long, boring backstory. The movie starts right into the action. I'm a big fan of the way the movie was also shot. Very clean and fast. It looks like it's probably been shot in built Hollywood studios. Bruce Willis is as cool and engaging as usual. I don't know much about Thomas Jane, but he also did a solid job. Jane was never too over the top, and the dialogue was quick and tight. The action and stunts are real tight. There's no crappy CGI crazy car chases. It all looks like the stunts were done for real. The movie starts with Bruce Willis explaining the whole concept of how and why the futuristic city of Vice was built. A lot of people in the reviews thought it was a city.
Little did they know, it was
It's a
time
time
zone.
zone. Although the movie was futuristic, it didn't feel too unorganic. The new technology seems well blended into existing technology. The plot was easy to follow and therefore allowed you to just sit back and enjoy the ride. The music and sound effects were also on point, and I never noticed any problems like spikes or dialogue that's too low. All in all, I definitely recommend fans of this genre to watch and enjoy it. 10 out of 10.
Nice.
I like that review because a lot of it is just the bare minimum.
Could hear it, could see it.
Could hear it. There weren't any noticeable technical issues. There shouldn't be. I could definitely hear the guns by John-205-32866.
What a scramble of numbers.
Well, you know, he wanted to just do John.
It's tough being a John in the world. Yeah. There's a real pecking order.
Oh, yeah. You can never get an email that's just your name.
No.
Watching movies is about expectations. If you see Vice expecting high art, apparently like some of the low reviewers here, you'll probably be disappointed. If, like me, you're just looking for a fun movie that keeps it cranked up from beginning to end and delivers on the 3 Bs, big guns, big boobs, and Bruce Willis, Vice is a movie you don't want to miss.
Nah, pause. Hang on. That's big guns, big boobs,
and Bruce Willis.
He's not wrong.
It's worth
This guy's
noting.
got his priorities straight.
It's worth noting that there's technically 5 Bs there. Story-wise, it's Westworld meets Free Jack, except there's no Mick Jagger to make you scratch your head and wonder, why'd they let him in? Let's be honest, if you overthink even the best sci-fi movie, you can poke holes in it. Vice is no different. Again, it's about expectations. Not true. Was this movie great fun? Yes. Was the action non-stop? Yes. Was the directing tight? Yes. Did Thomas Jane Sig Sauer blow the crap out of every bad guy he encountered? Yes. Bottom line, Vice was everything I expected and everything I hoped for old school action movie fun. Don't miss it. 10 out of 10.
John knows.
John.
John understands. The 3 Bs. The 3 Bs is now my life philosophy that I will be standing by. I will be implementing. Does this tick the 3 Bs for me? I'm going to go home and look at Claude and see his absence of big boobs and be like,
You have big boobs.
oh yeah. But who's the Bruce Willis?
Here's the last one. Better than World of Warcraft. I'm no gamer. I'm real.
Why? Why the comparison?
It is
These are the 2 things he's ever consumed.
by Katie_scary.
Whoa, Katie.
Yeah.
Sexist of me. Sorry, Katie.
Yeah.
Girls can game too.
No. I'm not a gamer. I already thought this was a
know
funny
what?
lead-in, and you made it even better.
Feminism just got taken down a notch, all right? We just proved. I'm so sorry to all the female gamers in the world. I've disappointed you. I've betrayed you.
And on behalf, I accept. I'm not a gamer because I love my reality. This is the best second half to that sentence.
I guarantee you Claude is playing World of Warcraft tonight, and I'm going to come home and say that exact line to him.
I spent a lot of today playing Elden Ring because I wasn't enjoying my reality.
I love my reality.
I'm surprised that all the gamers out there didn't latch on to this movie with all the love and fervor you give your online persona, pretending to be a kick-ass superhero or some beautiful diva of the world. Those are capitalized like they're titles. When in reality, you're probably just some Doritos-eating nerd with a dusty Game Boy. And
Okay, I've never asked you this, but you haven't even finished it yet. Can you send me this review?
absolutely, I can't. Notice, by the way, there's not a single mention of Vice yet.
Yeah.
And
What chip on their shoulder are they trying to get out to the world?
Initially, I didn't care for the blatant sexualization of fantasy meeting violence against women. What kind of person gets off on hitting or killing women, even if it's in a world of clones or online? Losers. That's who. I gave this movie 10 stars because it was entertaining and the clones win in the end. They're not clones and no one's online. Also, kudos to the... so hard to get through.
The clones win in the end.
Also, kudos to the writer for bringing out that these types of fantasy worlds where violence against women is okay is not okay. Where do we draw the lines before it's too late? Because we've already crossed the lines. Deep. I recommend this movie to anyone who can understand the nuances and underlying theme of this movie. I don't recommend this movie to people who spend inordinate amounts of time online pretending to be someone else with a million friends who eventually find their soulmate and meet them in person after saving her/him like 1,000 times from Gul'dan. Sort of.
What's Gul'dan?
I think she's just making up a name. I don't know why she had to drag into people who... She didn't even say that it's a failed relationship. Like, she's just attacking people who find their soulmate online. Yeah. Brian Greenberg and Colin Egglesfield are so hot. Rewind to... I wasn't okay with the sexualization. And to the trolls who find my reviews unhelpful, go back to playing Game Boy, where on video you rule the world, but in reality, well, you get the point. ... Smiley face. 10 out of 10.
Holy shit.
Whoa.
Katie, babe, go to therapy.
Also, again, this movie came out in 2015. So this person's idea of like
Game Boys.
Game Boys and World of Warcraft are so dated.
I guarantee you she's 43 years old.
Absolutely.
She's like Gen X.
Almost none of that was about the movie.
No.
And what was about the movie was wrong. They're not clones and no one's online.
Please send me that review. I loved every moment.
It actually might be my favorite review we've done.
Wow.
what? Hey, Abby, what was your thoughts?
Katie summed them all up for me. I was watching it being like, I do love my reality. And guys that play Game Boys are fucked up. And violence against women is wrong. And it's not okay. This Vice, after our Spookums in April, which I thought we got through relatively unscathed. And
Honestly,
I think Spookums in April really saved us from what would have been a really tough series of bland horror films.
I actually largely had a good time.
Same, yeah. This film was like a nice...
The Grudge was pretty brutal.
Yeah, The Grudge was tough. And The Gallows was... It was all pretty tough. But this was a great return to like a good tropey action film.
Yeah.
And I had a fantastic time watching it. So it didn't drag. Like I didn't watch it thinking like counting the fucking clock. I love my reality. It's going to be a 3.6 out of 10.
3.6?
Yeah.
So high.
Yeah.
So much higher.
I know. My ratings are getting less reliable because my brain is warped and twisted.
This movie is barely a movie. It's just it's a rough sketch of a movie. It's again that era of like schlocky Bruce Willis action movie that has dominated the 2010s. It's remarkably unimaginative, which for me is like the cut. I don't even want to bother with this tone. I don't know. 2.4. It's so badly made. Yeah, sure. That other guy is right though. There's no audio glitches.
The sound was...
I did say while I was watching it, I did put in my notes, like whoever the colorist was, I think they did a genuinely good job.
All right.
So that's cool. You know?
Blue. They did blue really well.
Yeah, but I like there was some shots where there'd be blue there and orange there, and I'm like, hey, you're pulling out those colors pretty good, you know?
Sure.
So you know, yeah, 2.4. This movie sucks. Maybe watch it on a bad movie night, but maybe not. But hey, you know, if you enjoyed that, feel free to continue on and join us on social media. You can find us on Twitter at RateDescendPod, on TikTok at RatingDescending, or you could email us at ratingdescending@gmail.com. Love those fucking emails. And we can't type a burp, so that won't happen.
Or you can find us on our personal accounts. I'm on Insta at Abigail J. Ward.
Or you can find me on both Twitter and Instagram at michelle.stclair. I'm bad at posting, but I'm good at responding.
And don't forget to drop us a review on anywhere that you listen to your podcast. We love seeing the little reviews. They warm our heart, and it actually genuinely helps us as a podcast. So please,
does.
if you enjoy what we do and you listen, drop us a review.
Yeah.
Even if it's like a middling review.
Yeah.
Test us. Challenge us.
Yeah.
See if we can. We don't. Fuck you.
Yeah.
Go back to your Game Boy.
Go back to your
Dusty
Game
little nerd.
Dusty little nerd. Go back to your Game Boy.
Go back to your Game Boy.
Eat some Doritos and play World of Warcraft with your soulmate.
With your fingers.
Oh, you're in a long-term romantic relationship?
Wait, what? You've got a girlfriend?
Yeah. And I love her a lot.
Oh.
And you have a fiancé.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My manky fianky.
Hey, I mean, that was...
It's a condition. Don't laugh. He just can't wash himself.
Mank was a condition. Yeah, Tony
Dirty.
Shalhoub, OCD. The meta joke is that there was a movie recently that was called Mank, and I didn't watch it, and I didn't know what it was about, so I chose to reference Monk instead. Hey, that was Vice. Abby, what are we watching next week?
Next week, Michelle, we are watching A Wrinkle in Time.
Hey,
Sounds cool?
I haven't seen it. From what
Neither.
I've seen online, it seems like a lot of Americans have read the book.
Yeah.
Never read the book. Not
Neither.
really that popular in Australia.
No.
Look, I'm fully, like, maybe it's a shit show. Maybe it's a catastrophe. I'm fully
It's
prepared.
probably going to be a catastrophe, yeah.
But I'm also fully prepared for something where we go, that's a lot of interesting ideas
Yeah,
applied in
I
a very
can
weird way.
Already tell it's like high concept and it's going to be fun.
It's directed
So,
by Eva DuVernay. She's a good director.
Great. We'll do it.
Yeah, we're gonna do it. It's
Stop
gonna be a good
yelling
time.
at me.
I'm so
Oh my
sorry.
God.
Oh my god.
Why do I? Oh my God, stop.
I'm floating away.
She's going into a helicopter.
No, my fingies. I'm okay though.
You just lost the top of your head.
There's a second helicopter.